Thank you guys for tuning in to the Bootz Sports Show. I'm your host, Uncle Bootz, and we will talk today about the Dallas Cowboys finishing up their first week at camp. In addition to that, we'll touch a little bit on the blue-gray scrimmage that the team had, and we'll talk about my thoughts on that. First and foremost, you can check this video out and a bunch of other articles over at your daily CowboysFootballFix.com. Thanks to the support and folks over there, including CJ Wright and Cowgirl Cass. You can definitely check out a bunch of articles that are written, some well-written articles over there, as well as some videos, especially if you're a Cowboy fan. Moving ahead with the Dallas Cowboys practice. You know, this week the Cowboys endured a couple injuries. One of them was a more serious injury in Tyrone Crawford, who was expected to play some significant snaps for the Dallas Cowboys, and he will be lost for the season with a torn Achilles. The team has obviously had a lot of hope for him, and I didn't see much of his play last year as a rookie out of Boise. I didn't see much impact plays, but the team was really big on him. They expected a lot from him this year, so I don't think that's as big a loss as losing someone like Dez Bryant or Jeremy Maclin, who was lost for the Eagles. But it is a loss when you think about the reps that he would have taken and the the fact that he'd have been out there and given guys breathers and stuff like that. And he did have some position flex where he could also play defensive end and defensive tackle. So that's it can be understood if the team thought it was a pretty valuable loss. Anthony Spencer also has a knee scope minor procedure, but he'll be probably held out for most of the preseason games and camp, etc. So he'll probably be probably be healthy again a couple weeks or a week before the Giants come to town week 1. So that we can deal with. Pretty much for the most part, this team has just a couple little bumps and bruises that they're getting through. Jay Ratliff, Mackenzie Bernardo, we got Nate Livings back on the field at guard. So some of these guys are coming back in, and we should start seeing them fill in, and we'll start seeing what our team looks like in its entirety. But talking about the practice, what I've seen from some of the practices, DallasCowboys.com, Mickey Spagnola and Brian Broaddus primarily do a great job of keeping you in the know of the practices by putting a lot of film from the practices. So I kind of watch that and look over it with a fine-tooth comb, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do as well. And some of the things that I've noticed that have probably bothered me most about the practices is the condition of the field that they're practicing on. And I'm a little surprised that this hasn't gotten a lot more attention. Because the Dallas Cowboys, to me, it's a double-edged sword kind of, because they not only are they practicing on the field where I think the team could see more injuries and lower body injuries, especially with the loose sod and turf and being all ripped up, and we are having a lot of hamstring injuries in retrospect, come to think about it. But the team, to me, should practice on a turf that is more like the turf that they play on at home. And especially the team, to me, I just think the team struggles winning games at home, winning big games at home, taking advantage of home field. This team hasn't done that in years, and I wonder how much of it, and it's just more of me pontificating than having actual facts to back it up, but how much is it that the team doesn't practice on the same turf that they play on? And these plays are being installed, these cuts are being cut, all these little nuances, and different blocks and different things that are being done on a turf that you don't even play on at home. So maybe that's part of the reason that the team doesn't play well in home games. And we're not awful, but by no means do we have a home field advantage in any game when it comes down to it. So that was just one of the things I noticed about the playing turf. I will say that the draft class has really looked their part, in these practices. For all the media guys who and even fans who didn't understand the draft, including myself with a couple picks. The team really looks like so far they nailed these picks, and you'll see more why when we talk about the blue-gray scrimmage. But when you watch these practices, you're seeing plays made by every single draft pick. You're seeing Terrence Williams making some very good catches and starting to come around. And I've pretty much been watching Travis Frederick, the new center, every move, every interview, every eye blink, so to speak, with this guy. And he's looked the part, more than looked the part. He never seemed overwhelmed, blocking guys. Now, he hasn't had a chance to block Jay Ratliff and some of these other guys, but he's still blocking the Sean Lisa Moores, Jason Hatchers, and those guys are pretty good defensive linemen. And he's looked like he's supposed to be there, and he hasn't looked worse than Costa. And to me, he's looked better. It just seems like there's a foundation there when he's there. I really like the pick, but and I like the way he's looking. And a lot of these kids are starting to look. J.J. Wilcox is being talked about, so much, that the scouts are raving about him, and it's just a matter of time before he inserts himself. Probably midway through the season, you'll probably see him show out right away on special teams and be a dynamic player there. But this entire draft class, Devontae Holloman, you see his speed, his versatility out there. You're really seeing guys making plays. Even the Gavin Escobar pick, which I was critical of, not knowing the team was going to move in the direction of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends on the field being their base set. He's looked really good. I mean, he's big, tall, wide receiver, a tight end with great hands. I mean, and he seems like he's going to make plays. He's going to be a big help in the red zone, and that's what this team needed. So looking at the way these practices are being ran, it seems different. It seems different. There seems to be a lot of focus on turnovers, a lot of focus on getting your hands on balls. It just seems like the focus has been there, and it's hard to tell much about this team because of the deficiencies we have now with pretty much both of our starting guards. And technically, even though we got Nate Livings back, we don't even know if he's going to be a starting guard because you could have Mackenzie Bernardo on one side, and Ron Leary could be the other guard who beats him out. So we haven't seen those guys much yet. So you could potentially be still looking at not having your full offensive line complete. So I've been able to see enough to know that we'll be okay at the offensive line position. And the defensive line position, I'm still a little worried about. I'm still a little worried about stopping the run. Still a little worried about getting that upfield rush. But we still have a lot of time to get guys in there that will be able to play that role. So, moving forward, like I said, this is the draft class that I'm seeing. The dividends that I'm seeing being paid on the field. This draft class looks very, very promising. Very promising. A lot of these guys are going to play right away, and that's what you want. So, some of the pluses of practice, of our training camp. Obviously, the talk is, of all the practice, the best player, who's looked to be the best player on the team is Dez Bryant. I mean, every single play, he's an impact player. If the play goes to him, it's an instant impact player. It's always a wow play, and he looks like he's coming on. And I remember having a discussion with a couple of my colleagues, and they were saying they didn't believe that Dez Bryant was a number 1 wide receiver. And, it's just weird after that discussion that we had, and it was a pretty raunchy, animated discussion. He's been selected as a top 35 player in the National Football League, and now you're starting to hear the roar of everyone else saying this kid's amazing. I mean, what you're seeing out there every single day. And he's going against some pretty decent corners. You just can't cover him. And that's what you want to see from him. You want to see that. That's what he was thought to be, the type of player he was thought, to have been coming out of Oklahoma State. So Dez Bryant has, without question, been, because it always was DeMarcus Ware is the best player on the team, and I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just saying that he's not better than Dez Bryant is to the team. Now, they may both be a push, but Dez Bryant has been remarkable. But speaking of Ware, I don't know if it's just me, but he just looks so much quicker than I've ever seen him this year. He just looks faster, and I heard the coaches talking about the conditioning tests that were being done and how he had his best conditioning test that he's had since he's been a Cowboy. He's saying he's in the best shape of his life. He just looks so fast, and I don't know if that's the position or if he's finally gotten a chance to be fully healthy and we just haven't seen that. But whatever it is, DeMarcus Ware is right there. He's a tough guy to block. No one on the offensive line, including Tyron Smith. DeMarcus Ware has actually made people start to question this Tyron Smith pick, who we've been pretty happy with since he's been here, because no one can block this guy. So those guys are so far on my plus side or my hot. If I were to do a hot and cold, those guys are hot. And I'm going to say this too about another player on the offensive line, Doug Free. He's not going up against, because there's only one DeMarcus Ware out there, and DeMarcus Ware is primarily playing, on the right defensive side. So Tyron Smith's getting a lot of work with him. But, I know I'm going to say Ben Bass, and a lot of people who aren't Cowboy fans are going to say who, but Ben Bass is a guy who has been a hard guy to block since he's been on this team, whether it was preseason, practice, or whatever. This guy's been a tough guy to block. He gets a real good push. But Doug Free has been done a decent job, and a lot better than what I expected of him after seeing the way he's played the last couple of years. So, he's another guy that really, really, really could come on and make a big difference with our offensive line, because that affects everybody. If Doug Free is a liability, then the guard playing next to him is just as much a reliability, because he doesn't trust the right tackle. So, and he has to overcompensate for his, deficiency. So those things are important to the offensive line. So if we can get that settled down, I think that'll be one less headache for us and Tony Romo. But another guy who's pretty hot, I've seen in practice, and I don't know how you cover this guy, and that's Cole Beasley. He's a small, diminutive wide receiver, but he's springy, man. He's a tough guy to cover. He's not Dez Bryant. He's not gonna outrun, the fade route. He's not gonna do that. He's not the guy, but he's an underneath guy that I think if they can run some 3 and 4 wide receiver sets, and I don't think it's out of the question that a guy like that can be a third wide receiver, even a situational third, because he's a tough guy to cover. He breaks down really fast. He's always running precise routes, and he's just real quick. Kind of runs routes the way that Terry Glenn used to run them, for the Cowboys, and who I think was the best route runner that I've seen since I've been studying football for the Cowboys. He was just, you just couldn't stay with him. Even if you were with him, he could chop his feet, and that separation he brings, and that's the key thing that Cole Beasley is going to bring is separation. So that's a guy that really, really probably, to me, really cemented himself and will probably have a pretty big role on this team. Looking at other guys, I'm liking what I've seen from Miles Austin. Miles Austin is looking good. He looks like he's, obviously he looks like he's healthy. But, I know he's got a couple drops. Everybody's going to have drops, whether it's the season, whether it's not. You're going to have drops from the best wide receivers in the game and the worst wide receivers in the game. So I don't care about a slant route drop that hit him in the hands and he should have caught it and he's holding his head like, I should have caught that. That's going to happen to everybody. So I know what Miles Austin can do. I know he's a tough cover. He kind of has that same quick twitch, chopping his feet like Cole Beasley has. So it's hard to stay with guys like that. And those are guys that are going to become, make the offense, Romo friendly again. So now, guys that have come into this practice that I knew nothing about because they were undrafted rookies. One of them is this kid, Eric Rogers, and went to small school, Cal Lutheran. He has made at least for me, he has made such an impact on the wide receiving core that our fifth round pick Danny Cole from last year, who pretty much didn't play because he was hurt all last year, pretty much didn't play because he was hurt this year, who I would have probably put him on that PUP list and gave him 6 games. I would have done that because I don't know that he's going to make this team. I actually don't think he's going to make it. If this kid Eric Rogers, who's a tall, I think he goes about 6'3", plays 6'3". If you thought about Andre Holmes last year, who by the way just got popped, he's with the Oakland Raiders for the substance abuse policy. But if you think about Andre Holmes, who was a tall wide receiver and had decent speed, this kid is a little bit more crisp than that and plays tall. Andre Holmes didn't really play tall. I think the team wanted him to play a little bit bigger than he was. He never kind of was that guy. This kid can catch, and you're going to see a lot about this kid. You're going to hear a lot about him probably on Sunday with our Hall of Fame game against the Miami Dolphins. So you'll start to hear a lot of these names and see them. The last, and there are a lot of guys that are making plays, but the last guy that kind of showed up is Lawrence Dunbar. I mean, he's always had speed, but I never saw that speed last year. I never saw him able to assert himself to use that speed. It always seemed like as soon as he got hit, as soon as the lane was clogged, it was either a 1-yard gain or a loss. But I'm starting to see the Cowboys use him better. I saw a screen pass and we'll talk about, like I said, the scrimmage, but I saw a screen pass and he was doing his best Felix Jones impersonation. And I think that that's exactly the role that he can have, is be that Felix Jones type of player. So, if I want to start the guys that I'm a little disappointed in, the Cole guys, and I'm a little disappointed in Jeremy Parnell. Jeremy Parnell had a chance to come in and try to beat out a guy like Doug Free, and just never seen whether it's injuries, whether it's poor play, whether he's not in the right, if his conditioning isn't up to par, he just never seemed to take advantage of that opportunity. And he may never get that opportunity again in this league. But he did have an opportunity to compete. He's not on the field. Hasn't shown, that he can be a player that can be relied on because he's injured already. And he's kind of on my cold side. I think now he's at a risk. He's at the risk of possibly not making this team if he doesn't get out there and show something, as is Danny Cole as well. Now, another guy to me, and I'm not picking on him, but I don't feel that he has asserted himself either, is Phil Costa. Now, he knew when the Dallas Cowboys drafted Travis Frederick that he was going to have to go out and maul people. He was going to have to go out and dominate. He was going to have to separate himself from the rookie, because the rookie being picked with our first pick and all the scrutiny that came with the pick, the Cowboys were going to try to prove they were right no matter what. Costa needed to come out and be so much better than him, and Costa really hasn't. Costa really hasn't been better at all to me. And as a matter of fact, there's no way he's beating that kid out. That kid is a monster of a body out there. He plays with power. He's just smart. He's not overwhelmed when they run these stunts. He gets his inside block in, gets the outside block right on. Those are things that you didn't see at all last year, and you wonder why the running game and Tony Romo was running for his life. You didn't have those combo blocks. You didn't have to get guys getting to the second level like I saw Tyron Smith in the scrimmage against Bruce Carter. A nice job blocking and releasing and getting to the second level. Those are the things that happen more when you get great center play. So the practices so far have been great. I like the team's focus on turnovers, and the defense seems like it's starting to get better, and we're going to get some pieces in there with the Jay Ratliffs of the world, and you'll start to see some guys. I'm sure we'll probably sign another guy or two for either depth or to compete, but you're starting to really, really see guys like Sean Lee, Bruce Carter really roam to the football early. And now we're going to get into the blue-gray scrimmage, which was tough to watch because there's so much going on and so much cluster of guys in one spot. But early on, the Cowboys, in that, the offense looked decent, but the Cowboys were really flowing to the football. Gangly. They were just right around the football, attacking, and that's what you want to see. That's what you haven't seen consistently from the Cowboys. And what I like the most about the speed of the defense and these drills that they were doing, the plays they were running, I liked how in between the plays, the coaches were throwing footballs at the secondary and making them think about turnovers. I like that. I don't remember ever seeing that, but in between plays, the coaches were throwing balls around the secondary. Guys had to catch the ball and be cognizant of the fact at all times you should be thinking turnover. You should be thinking, I'm thinking you should be thinking pick six, taking it the other way. And that's what you saw from B.W. Webb, our up-and-coming young corner, who's got a chance to play. I think he can play inside and outside, even though he runs about 5'10", maybe 180 pounds, 185 pounds. He's got a chance to be able to play and be an impact player for the Cowboys. So you're starting to see this guy get a little bit comfortable. You're starting to see the entire draft class, like I said, in the blue-gray scrimmage, I thought looked fantastic. I thought they really... I didn't see much of J.J. Wilcox. I saw everybody else, though. And I saw, Terrence Williams make an awesome catch. You're seeing Eric Rodgers. You're seeing guys that are really, really, really gonna make an impact on this team and make some big plays down the stretch. I thought, like I said again, I thought Frederick handled himself real well. I thought the team, I liked the way the play call. I love the play calling. I liked seeing Witten in the slot, who, when he lined up in the slot, he looked so imposing. And I remember watching it saying, man, Witten looks awesome. And then that same play, he catches the touchdown pass and was gone. And that's what you want to see. You want to see Tony Romo starting to look comfortable, because he did miss some time. And as good as a quarterback as he is, and as good as a quarterback as I believe he is, no matter how good you are, you still need to be in the flow of work. So him missing time, he's slowly getting acclimated back into things. And I think that, that's probably one of the reasons that he's not going to play in this Hall of Fame game, according to the coaches, is because he's not there yet. And I don't think the team wants to start the season off with Tony not being there yet, and then everyone judging him because he might have thrown an interception in a Hall of Fame game because he was late on a read or something. So I think they want to get him all the way up to par, and then he'll probably play in that second game. But you've seen so much of, I like the pace. What I didn't like about the scrimmage was I didn't like all of the way the defense kind of got beat up pretty good. Now, the defense made its plays. There were some number ones, some number twos out there, but I didn't like the way they were getting gashed. So they got gashed a little bit for yards, and I'm sure they'll clean that up. But for the most part, I thought the team was sound. I thought everything they did had purpose within it. Whether it was running the football, didn't see a lot of huge plays. I did see Joe Randall break off and look elusive, and he took a lot of heat in the draft for not being fast, running a 4.6. He looks a lot better than that. So, sometimes we get carried away with these 40 times. Some of these guys are running them and they're hurt. They're not up to 100%, but they're going to run them anyway because that's what the scouts want them to do. That's what they want. And they run them and they don't run as fast enough time. I know Anquan Bolden did that when he came out. Ran a 4.7, but he was hurt. Ran it anyway. And everyone said he was very slow. He couldn't play. And then he gets to Arizona, runs them for Denny Green, and Denny Green runs them at a 4.4 when he's healthy. So sometimes we get caught up with these 40 times. I don't think he plays slow at all. I do think that I've seen enough of Philip Tanner. And I like the commitment he made to the team as far as getting in shape, getting in better shape. I just think that Philip Tanner doesn't bring enough of a threat anywhere. I know he's a decent special teams player, but I just don't think that he can be counted on. If your starter goes down, can he be a starter? Probably not. I would be more comfortable with Lance Dunbar running screens and outside plays and counters and stuff like that. A couple things I did like though with the offense. I liked how Tony Romo was holding that play action and freezing the linebackers and then getting the ball up and passing. I like that. I mean, that was something that we didn't see much, if at all, last year. So Dunbar looked explosive. I finally got a chance to see the speed in the scrimmage against our defense and of course our front line. But he looked explosive. He broke a play out, and I mean he was out. I mean, so he does have speed, but the problem is you got to get him out there. But the team says they think he's a little bit more prepared this year, a little bit better down, they were young last year. They were rookies last year, so you get a chance to see him out there. Maybe he takes on that Felix Jones role for the team, because I do think, I did think we were going to miss Felix a little bit, his speed, but I think that Dunbar might be a guy that can make. I think we'll keep 3 running backs this year. I think you'll keep 6 wideouts. You probably won't have Tanner. You probably won't have Danny Cole. There's no way you're going to sneak a guy like Eric Rodgers on a practice squad. And the last thing I'll talk about before I summarize all this is I like the kid Alex Tanney, this quarterback that the Cowboys got from Monmouth College in Illinois. This kid, now the first time I saw him do this. I don't know if you saw this video on YouTube. It's a viral video. I don't know how much of it's photoshopped or whatever. But if this kid has the ability that he displays in this YouTube video, he's a pretty accurate dude. So I suggest you guys look at that video. It's pretty cool to watch, if anything. I mean, he's throwing the ball from buildings, bouncing them through, throwing them through basketball hoops. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff this guy's doing. But what I saw from him, I hadn't seen from Stephen McGee. I haven't seen, to be honest with you, from Kyle Orton. I don't think Kyle Orton has displayed what this kid is able to display out there. He's got a good live arm, got the ball down the field, and he's accurate. Another guy who doesn't look overwhelmed back there. I mean, how many of you guys remember watching Stephen McGee checking the ball down every single play, every single time, because he didn't have confidence in his arm. And this kid is going to go out and sling it. And that's what you want. You want a guy to go out there, especially in practices. You're trying to make the team. Go out there and use your ability. And this kid, Alex Tanney, I think is going to make this team. I'm not a big fan of Nick Stevens. I'm a Tennessee Volunteer fan. I remember when he was there he had a little brief moment with the Volunteers. Not really a guy that's going to push anybody. Maybe a practice squad guy. Maybe. But Alex Tanney could be a guy that you can develop right away and maybe, be like that Matt Moore, develop a Matt Moore situation, or potentially a draft pick. Somebody might look at him and like him. So we do need to work on our defense. We do need to get our offensive line. I'd like to just see who they think is going to be the offensive line. I'd just like to see that unit, see DeMarco Murray running behind that line. But we do got some holes. I think we got a lot of holes. I think the defense has a lot of things they have to do to get better coverage-wise. Tony Romo will pick apart them cover 2 zones. He did it against those Tampa teams. He's done it throughout his career. He will pick those defenses apart, and so I'm going to assume that other good quarterbacks will do the same. We need to definitely get on our ball. We need to definitely show some coverages, different packages, and I'm sure we will see that. I'll be interested to see how the Cowboys look. We'll get an extended look at all of our rookies and a lot of our guys that are fighting for roster spots. You'll get to see Alex Tanney out there, number 7, against the Miami Dolphins come Sunday. So it'll be our first preseason game, which we'll actually get to see something that really looks like football. Guys, definitely hit like on the video if you like it. Definitely subscribe to the page. Visit us over at your Daily Cowboys Football Fix.com. And also, any comments, anything, any video suggestions that you may want, you can just fill up the subscription page at the bottom. Fill up the comment section at the bottom, and I'll definitely do my best to either answer you on air or possibly in the show, email, whatever. So once again, I'm out of here. Let's hopefully have an injury-free week for the Dallas Cowboys, and hopefully they can improve, get better. They definitely got to get better defensively. We weren't really sharp Hopefully we'll see a little bit more safety action. I'm out of here, guys. Let's get this week going, and look forward to Sunday against the Miami Dolphins in the Hall of Fame game.